So today we're looking at more open string exercises for the right hand. And for examples, I'm using numbers 20 all the way to 35 from my technique book. And there's a link for that book underneath the video, so you can check that out. This is from a section of the book that has 100 open string exercises, but there's also left hand exercises, Giuliani's 120, tons of other exercises in the book. But today we're looking at number 20 to 35, and it's kind of like an introduction to arpeggios. So using the thumb with the I finger, and also using some different combinations of these three fingers, but it's right before the section that covers like the traditional various arpeggio patterns that will be covered in the book. So these are kind of like in between exercises. They introduce some concepts and ideas, and I just want to talk about those concepts, and feel free to just like watch the video and learn for free, or if you feel like picking up the book, you can follow the link under the video. So make sure you've already watched the number 1 to 19, but number 20 introduces the thumb and the I finger playing together. And when you're doing that, the main concept is to keep the thumb in front of the finger. You don't want there to be traffic jams between these two fingers, like for them to interfere with each other, or to like for the thumb to stroke underneath the finger and then get caught on the way back up. You want to keep them very clear, so you're going to keep the thumb in front of the finger. Now, you don't necessarily want to force your thumb in front of your fingers. Sometimes it has to do with your guitar position. If I'm too much like this, see where my thumb is? It's kind of tough, but if I move the guitar like this into the proper classical position, then my thumb is automatically just kind of becomes in front of the finger. From the nature of the angle of the hand, right? So make sure that you don't just try to throw your thumb in front, but adjust your guitar position to accomplish this. So number 20 is alternation with thumb and I. So you just do that on a loop to make sure that the thumb and the I finger are clearly independent of each other and they're not interfering with each other at all. Number 21 is just the same exercise but on all 6 strings. Number 22 is skipping strings in groups of 2. So essentially we're going to play the 6th string, and then we're going to play the 4th string, then the 5th, then the 3rd, and putting it all together. These skipping string exercises are great because in repertoire we don't always like just go through the strings from adjacent strings like lots of scales and other technique exercises do. Instead, it's a little bit more realistic in terms of repertoire that you sometimes have to jump a string. So it'll just teach your muscle memory it'll make your muscle memory that much more secure as far as the distances of the strings. Number 23 is the same exercise pretty much as 22, except it's in groups of 3, and which creates a challenge because the accent will happen on P and then I, right? So it'll go P, I, P, I, P, I, P, I, P, I, P, I. So that shifting accent is also much more realistic to repertoire. It also is just a great balance exercise. It doesn't allow the thumb to always be the loudest finger, but instead any finger can potentially be the loudest finger. So. Etc., etc. So number 24 starts to introduce actual arpeggios and 3-note chords. And I kind of consider number 24 to 27 a set. Number 24 starts with just block chords. So make sure that you're not yanking your hand up or going like this with the fingers. You want to bring the fingers and the thumb, the fingers into the palm and then the thumb into the palm as well, using just the natural way that your hands move, right? Keeping the hand very nice and still. Now, number 25 is a single string. These are great accuracy. It's really hard to accuracy exercises. It's really hard to play on a single string with arpeggio patterns sometimes, but it's great tremolo practice, but it's also just great practice for accuracy. It also just, again, encourages that thumb to be in front of the fingers. So number 25 would be P-I-M, P-I-M, P-I-M. Number 26 allows the M finger to extend to the second string. P-I-M, P-I-M. So again, this is starting to look like an arpeggio, right? But the thumb is still has to stay in front of the finger and function on that third string. Number 27 is a traditional arpeggio, finally. P-I-M, P-I-M, P-I-M. But I hope that the thing that comes across is that when you're playing this traditional arpeggio, that the thumb is going to stay like securely in front of the eye finger, just like you practiced in number 25. That's why I consider it kind of a set that you want to make sure you're putting together. It doesn't matter how fast you go, you just want to put that together. By the way, we'll be covering planting and ways to practice arpeggios in a separate video, so just keep subscribe to the channel and just keep watching, and I'll eventually have that. But again, these are kind of preliminary exercises into the idea. There's a lot more arpeggios to cover in the book, so we'll get to that. Number 28 to 32 is very similar to the previous set. I consider it kind of a set, but now we've included the A finger into the mix. 28 is just the 4-note chord. Again, keep the hand relatively still. Make sure the thumb is coming out in front of the fingers. Adjust your guitar position if you're having trouble doing that. And then we have a single string, which is great for accuracy. So number 29. Thumb I-M-A, thumb I-M-A, P-I-M-A, P-I-M-A, P-I-M-A. And just keep that thumb in front. It's a great accuracy exercise. Number 30 allows the A finger to extend to the second string. P-I-M-A, P-I-M-A. But we're keeping that accuracy and the thumb extension, or thumb placement, where it should be. 31 allows M and A to reach out, so M is going to reach out to the second string, A is going to reach out to the first string, but P-I are still on that third string. Number 32 is their traditional arpeggio. But again, when you're playing that final one, 32, make sure you're thinking about the technique that you learned on the other ones. Keeping the thumb in front, keeping everything very secure, not moving. And then play it with that in mind. I think lots of people practice arpeggios, but they're not always very thoughtful about how to go about it. And I think this outline of this progression of materials will help you kind of consider your technique as you progress to the next exercise. Okay, and then the remaining exercises, 33, 34, 35, are all block chords, but in different combinations and with expansion and contraction. What I mean by expansion is the thumb and the fingers moving away from each other, or the thumb and the fingers moving closer together. There's more of these later on in some of the later numbers, but where you actually have extensions between fingers, but we're not covering that just yet. So number 33 is just 3-note solid chords, and we start off on the top 3 strings and we have our thumb extend downward through the strings, and then the fingers eventually follow, and then we move back. So we start very compact or contracted. So 1, and then we extend the thumb to the 4th string, to the 5th, to the sixth. Then we bring the fingers in. And then we're contracted on the lowest strings, right? And we move back. And then you can repeat the exercise. So it's just a little bit of contraction and then expansion and then contraction again. We do this in the left hand all the time with stretches and things, but we don't think about it in the right hand maybe as much as we should. Number 34 just has a moving bass. So essentially the thumb is expanding and contracting. And then the middle version, we just bring the fingers in so it's a little bit tighter. And then again, maybe a slightly more compact. Number 35 is essentially the same exercise except we're including A now, so the chords are slightly bigger. So we start with the fingers kind of secure on the top three strings and the thumb's going to expand and then the fingers are going to follow. So the first one here in 35. Thumb moves down, thumb moves down, fingers move down, fingers move down, everything moves up to allow you to repeat the exercise. And then on the last line there, we just have the traveling thumb. And then we have traveling fingers. So that kind of concludes that area of the book. The next thing we're going to do is talk about planting and preparation in the next video. And then we'll cover a number of other arpeggio patterns, much more traditional arpeggio patterns like 4-note patterns and their equivalents with accents on different fingers and things like that. There's 100 of the open string exercises, so I really, I'm pretty comprehensive there because I want your right hand just to be turned into a very efficient tool for you to use in your pieces and for you to be able to rely on and trust. So I'm pretty comprehensive when it comes to the open string exercises, and then other areas of the book, like the slurs and stuff like that, I try not to be too comprehensive, but like I'm really specifically, well, I've added a lot of right hand stuff. I mean, the 100 open string exercises and the 120 Giuliani exercises, I think that's a lot of right hand combinations. So if you do all those, you should have a pretty efficient and organized right hand. But like I said, the next time we're going to talk about planting and preparation, which is kind of ways to practice the arpeggios that are coming up in the book.